So the best time to add solar power is when you're getting a new roof or as a new construction, either new construction or roof replacement being the second best option. But what if you could eliminate many of those shingles and roofing materials to re-roof and instead just do solar panels as the roofing materials? Join us today to learn a little bit more about these applications. This session is brought to you by the Green Home Institute. The Green Home Institute is a nonprofit with a mission to empower people to make healthier and more sustainable choices in the renovation and construction of the places we live. Today, I will be your moderator. My name is Brett Little, and I am the education manager here. This course is approved for half an hour in multiple continuing education units, including the energy and materials pillar in our certified green home professional certification, as well as AIA Health, Welfare, and Safety may make it applicable to your state-based design or contractor license. Check out that 5-digit Passive House code that will be sent to you at the end, as long as you're here for the entire CEU approved half hour. And make sure to check out the International Conservation Code, thanks to our partners over at Energy Smart Institute for helping us get our sessions certified to ICC. So with that, I am going to hand it off to our speaker here today to talk about Power Your Home Smarter and Discovering the Future of Solar Roofing, Andrew Wickham with Certainty. So Andrew, glad you could join us. Please take it away.
Thanks, Brett. Appreciate the intro. Yeah. So, welcome everyone. Really appreciate everyone attending today. What we're going to be going through is really for the first bit in the educational piece, a bit of how solar works, what the solar industry is like in North America, and why it's important to the sustainability focus of our future for humanity. And then we'll go into the certainty specific products and how we can help you with your process should you be interested in installing solar panels or solar integrated BIPV. So we'll get started here. Really, what's interesting about solar for me is that when I got into the industry, I always thought it was something where it was purely sustainability focused and people looking to help the environment. And really, a big portion of what's going on in our world right now is the energy independence piece. Right now, electricity costs are rising like crazy with regards to utilities. And a lot of that is even ramping up higher due to AI data centers coming online and us having a lack of electricity. So, having your own energy independence and integrating solar into your residential home provides a major benefit to homeowners. And we'll go through some of those financial benefits later. But with the growth of solar in America and other countries, installation is really not that complicated. You've had a lot of different companies, businesses innovate in a way that really makes installing solar like putting together Legos. And if you're interested in solar, you can find installers and integrators across the country and across the world that can do it. And there's many countries that are further ahead than the USA and have solar on over 20% of homes, such as Australia. Um, the beauty of solar with regards to home building and home integration is that you're doing the right thing for the environment and reducing your carbon footprint, but you're also reducing your cost of electricity. And with electricity costs from utilities rising constantly, having a consistent self-generated solar bill is only going to increasingly become a financial benefit to you and your family. And so, especially with regards to new home building, as Brett mentioned, if you're building a new home, it just makes sense to integrate a solar system at the beginning. Actually, right now, across the planet, the lowest cost of generated electricity costs are solar power and wind energy. So between nuclear, coal, natural gas. The cheapest way to generate electricity is actually through solar power or wind. And we're seeing massive adoption on a global scale of this technology. And it just makes sense for homeowners to take part of this. And the beauty of it is, hey, guess what? If you oversize your system and you have too much solar, you're just helping out all your friends and neighbors by adding more solar to the grid. So it's really a massive thing that can help with generating electricity for both an individual homeowner or for a property owner that's got an apartment complex or a commercial building where you need electricity for your business or your warehouse. And yeah, so yeah, as I highlighted, lower electricity bills is the big thing. If you have the funds to be able to purchase your system outright, you're going to eliminate any sort of electricity bill. And you're essentially paying up front for your electricity costs. But there are many programs across the world as far as loans and leases where you can even pay zero money down and just lower that energy cost. Um, while doing something great for the environment. We've also seen, even with those lease homes or with those leased solar systems on homes, a 99.9% transfer rate when selling them to someone else, and it increases the home's value. So by installing solar on your roof or integrating solar into your roof, you're really doing yourself and the community a positive, and you're even doing a positive for the utilities because you're helping them not have to generate as much electricity on their own. As we look at some of the projections from, and some of this data is a little old as far as it's showing 2020 and 4% of homes in the United States. Right now, it's closer to 7. Uh, as we try to decarbonize our society with using fossil fuels and older methods of generating electricity, solar is a necessity. Um, and we're looking at solar powering half of the globe as we get to 2050 because the technology is only improving. If you think about solar power, solar panels 10 years ago were about 200 watts per solar panel, and now your standard residential solar panel is about 450 watts, and it's only $150. So the technology is only improving, and as we look to achieve our targets as a human race, solar is going to need to cover 45% of the grid. In combination with wind and some other zero carbon energy sources such as hydroelectric, et cetera. So really, it's an important thing for everybody to be looking into. And now with how the technology's improved, I would compare it to computers. So if you think 50 years ago, a computer took the size of an entire room to power, and they use chips made with silicone. Same with how solar uses polysilicon to collect energy from the sun. Computers are now in our pocket on our phones every single day. And we've seen that same technology increase with regards to solar power that we saw with computers. It's only going to get better. And it's already at a point where it's powering so much of the homes in so many countries around the world that it's important to take note of it and start thinking about adding it to your home, your business, whatever your application is. So, how does a solar system work? Everybody sees the solar panels on the roof and they generally understand that they collect UV rays and sunlight and turn them into electricity. There's a couple more steps to it because solar panels work on direct current DC electricity. Our homes work on AC electricity. So when installing a solar system, you're going to be installing the solar panels on a roof. You're going to be mounting them using standard solar racking, which there's many great companies out there that make solid racking equipment that also will keep your roof weatherproof. There's also BIPV, where it's an integrated solar roof system. And what then happens is that solar system and those panels run wires and cables and go to an inverter that converts them to AC, which is what your home uses. Your home uses all of the electricity it needs from that solar system, using your standard home breaker panel, et cetera, that distributes the loads to different plugs, outlets, lights, everything in your house. And then anything it doesn't use goes to your meter, which is what connects your home to the grid. And anything it doesn't use goes back to the grid for your neighbors and nearby houses to use. Also, one of the sad things is solar doesn't exactly generate electricity at night. Moonlight is not as good as sunlight. So at nighttime, all of that electricity you sent back to the grid where you're getting energy credits, etc., well, that's where utilities are necessary in sending electricity back to your home. There is the option today that there are a lot of people taking in where you can have a home battery so you can actually store the electricity that your solar system generates throughout the day and then use it at night. So, time of use, essentially, you could be completely off of the grid at this point, but typically, local jurisdictions and governments don't allow you to do that. But you can still put the battery in and make it so that you're not having to pay for your electricity at night if you decide to go that route. And it's very popular in certain states such as California, etc. So, one of the things about solar is sizing your solar system. And also, if you decide to go the battery route, deciding how many batteries you're going to have. A key thing to take into account is that the sun is higher during the summer and you get more solar power during the summer, whereas during the winter, both between clouds, rain, etc., and the sun having a lower arc, you're going to be getting less electricity. So you really, when sizing a solar system, need to decide how much you want to overproduce during the summer to make sure your bill is what you want to be during the winter. And one of the things with this is taking into account future considerations. So it might be that right now you drive a regular gas vehicle, but in a couple of years going to be getting an electric vehicle. You may want to switch to an electric water heater. Um, all of those things might mean that when you install your solar system or your solar roof, you want to oversize it to start because you want to further reduce your overall cost and maybe your gas bill in the future by converting your vehicles or your water heaters, etc., into electric versions. So one thing you'll commonly hear in the industry is the term PV. So photovoltaics is the technology behind solar that essentially takes silicone cells and takes the sun and sunlight and turns it into electricity. And we've been using it for years across the world. Right here on the left, I'm showing some solutions that are uh, integrated solar products, so full solar roof, as well as partially integrated solar roof. But what you've probably commonly seen is residential solar, so your array of solar panels on the rooftop, commercial solar, which most commercial buildings are flat roofs and involve complex engineering as far as ballasted systems, which utilize concrete blocks to hold the solar panels down as opposed to screwing them into the roof. And then you have your utility scale, which are the big solar farms that you see out in the desert. as well as also in farmland. And those are much more complex because they typically involve tracking systems that actually have the solar panels rotate throughout the day to follow the sun to generate the most electricity. And those utility systems are typically actually owned by utilities like your PG&E and such. One of the really interesting things about solar is the political side of things. So, originally, when solar first was introduced as a technology, it was very much something that you would say your more hippies and people like that were supportive of. But as people have educated themselves around solar, solar is something that's independent of party lines. 78% of Americans are in favor of more solar in the US. And also the utilities, as I mentioned, with them having their own solar farms, are also supportive of it. So you've seen where companies that were traditionally natural gas based or nuclear powered utilities, et cetera, have transitioned to using more renewable energies, whether it's solar or wind power. And given the environmental benefits, it just makes sense. I mean, to be blunt with everyone, there's a giant ball of fire up in the sky that we can collect electricity from, as opposed to burning dinosaur fuel in the United States. We might as well use it. And that's what you're seeing as a value across all of America that everybody agrees with that we need to use more solar power. So, when it comes to an actual solar installation, how long does it take? What are all of the steps? Well, a solar installation requires a electrical contractor's license. So you need to have an electrical contractor that actually gets the permit for you and does that. So first, you need to choose someone who is a certified solar installer, or if you own your own electrician business or roofing business, you need to partner or make sure you have an electrical contractor's license yourself. So once you've done that, you can do a site assessment, take a look at the electricity bill of the homeowner or of the potential home you're building, and say, this is how big I need my system to be based on my electricity usage. Then you design the system. Once it's designed, then there are plenty of online services that you can use to create a permit package for you to make it easy. You don't have to do the CAD drawings yourself or make the permit package yourself. There's plenty of online digital tools for both solar proposals and permitting that are available. And then once you have that permit, you apply for the solar permit or the building permit if you're integrating it into the roof. Then you need to get the equipment for that actual install. You do the installation. There's many, if you're doing a standard solar installation, there's many businesses that can do it in less than 6 hours. It's done in a day. Then you have to have your inspector come out to review the solar system and compare it to the permit. And then you need to file for your interconnection and what's called PTO, permission to operate, to essentially apply with the utility that you're your own personal power plant now. And once that's done, now you're generating your own electricity, and your electricity bill with your utility is much less or even negative. In many cases, if you oversize your system, sometimes you'll be getting a check back from the utility at the end of the year. And there's also many tax credits that are available. Currently in the United States, for example, there is a 30% investment tax credit that expires at the end of December this year. So if you're interested in solar, I highly suggest doing it now if you're in the US so you can get that 30% tax credit. There's also many state and local rebates available that if you install solar, you can get a lot of money back. So sometimes there are cases where you can install a solar system and 90% of it's paid for by the government, depending on your local incentives and rebates. So then you're essentially getting your own electricity for close to free. So It's a pretty great decision, and any homeowner that goes solar with a qualified, certified, great local solar installer is usually very happy when they start seeing their new electricity bill. So one of the best times to go solar is when you're building a house. And um, there are many people across the United States, as far as contractors, as I mentioned, electrical contractors, roofing contractors, that already are installing solar, know how to do it, or know how to do integrated solar roofs that you can contact in order to get your solar system installed with someone that's certified and qualified. Right now in the US, 7.5% of all single family homes have solar. Um, we're anticipating that only to grow in future years. The fact that the tax credit is going away at the end of this year will change things a little bit. But one of the interesting things about that tax credit going away is it doesn't go away yet for commercial businesses, and it also doesn't go away yet for financing businesses. So, if you're someone that's looking to go solar on more of the cheap route, doesn't want to put any money down, you still have some runway and to use certain companies that do financing if you want to lease your system, because the tax credit will still be in place for those businesses that own those leases, and you'll still be able to get a solar system for a much lower rate if you go that route. And you can even do that for a new home. It's not just for retrofit homes. And as Brett mentioned, there's no better time to go solar than when you're re-roofing your house, because then typically, if you use certain products, you can have your roofing warranty and your solar warranty all line up with 25 years. So it's all covered and you don't have to worry about repairs, etc. So, Brett, I think this was the point in time you wanted to pause.
Yeah, yeah, thanks, Andrew. So I wanted to take a look at some of the specific questions that came in here, and we'll take a couple questions before we continue on into the product specific conversations here and solutions. So the first question that came up with uh, the BIPV or integrated solar shingles was just about I guess maybe we'll expand it into a maintenance question, right? The question was about cleaning, um, but it's, maybe more so a maintenance question, like I guess, what is the maintenance and the cleaning and is it different than traditional solar panels?
Okay, so the maintenance and cleaning on just the electrical side is checking the inverter and your voltage, making sure the system's still operating exactly the same as a traditional solar panel system. And the cleaning's also the same. So integrated roofing solar products, no matter the manufacturer, still use the same cell technology of a standard solar panel. And therefore, when they get dirty or have some dust, the production goes down a little bit. So it's good practice, depending on the region you're living in, to get up there or hire someone. There's plenty of solar panel cleaning services to just wash them once a year or every 6 months. Kind of depends on where you live, obviously, but if you see them to start to get brown and dusty, it's definitely good to clean them off to make sure your production's as high as it can be.
Um, and thinking like two follow-up kind of questions. Um, I know like I have solar and a lot of times it's kind of I get an email like, oh, something's going on with your system, right? Or there's this thing going on. D does it kind of have a self-commissioning? Like if there is an issue with some of these electrical issues, it's going to kind of report that out to you?
Yeah, so it really depends on what inverter you choose,
Yeah.
or what business you go with. So, as I mentioned, if you lease the system, those financing partners, I'm trying not because it's an educational webinar mentioning by
Yeah.
name, but they usually have their own app for monitoring the system. And so you're able to see it then. And
Ah,
one of the benefits of leasing it is they're in charge of maintaining it and they'll come out and fix anything for you. If you own
mm,
your own system, depending on the inverter type that you use and the electronics you use, all
yeah,
of those companies have their own app. And
yeah.
you would be downloading that app on your phone and being able to see your daily generation, and it would provide you notifications to your point.
Oh,
And then you'd probably, if you're qualified yourself, you could go look into it your own. There's install manuals and
yeah,
maintenance manuals online. Or if you
yeah,
feel more comfortable hiring someone, that you hire a local electrician or someone to come out and fix whatever the thing was that was going on.
yeah. Um, we'll have to put a pin on that leasing thing for a second when we come back around. I'll get back to it. But keeping on the maintenance for those of us in the cold climates, if it ever snows again, I hope it does. What for solar shingles, I know for like traditional solar, you get the kind of rubber squeegees and you can squeegee it off safely without scratching it, instead of the plastic roof rakes. Is that kind of the same deal for those?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, so solar shingles, and this goes for all of the manufacturers. Isn't specific to Certainteed. It's similar technology where you've got a glass on top of that polysilicone, and you're just scrubbing off the glass with a squeegee. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and when it comes to resiliency, typically for those who live in wildfire risk areas that are sadly growing around the world, I think it's typically advised to do metal roofing. It I think gives a little more a lot more protection against. I think there was that iconic photo in Hawaii. All those homes had burned down, but there was that one standing, and it was a metal roof. And I don't know if that was the reason, right? But how do So the question is, can you do solar shingles with metal roofs? But expanding on that a little bit, do these add any additional fire protection, or do they make it worse?
So all of our most systems on the market with solar shingles are going to have a Class A fire rating, so you're
Sure.
covered. What's interesting about fire ratings is a lot of it honestly relies on the underlayment. So with all roofs, whether it's metal, asphalt, shingle, tile, there's a layer of essentially peel and stick underlayment that is underneath the roof that you're actually seeing. And that the technology with regards to that stuff is crazy. I mean, the chemistry that they've built into underlayment today is really a lot of your fire protection layer
Okay.
with regards to any roof you install. So yeah.
So you could maybe do a particular fire resistant underlayment under a solar shingle. Is that correct?
Well, we actually, for our own systems, we require it.
Yeah.
So
And so to the other question though was, can these integrate with metal roofs, or are these more integrated with just standard
r
shingles?
r r- our current system
Yeah.
is purely for asphalt shingles, or we have our whole solar roof system. There
Yeah.
are some peel and stick metal roof options out there
Right. Yeah.
that we've seen where it's a long strip of panels and it goes between like some standing seam metal roofs,
Yeah.
um, stuff like that. But there hasn't been much adoption of those
Hmm.
because gluing something to the roof and all of that, there's, been some historical problems with it flying off, etc. What you
Yeah.
will see is there are a lot of great options for standard solar panels with mounting brackets to metal roofs. And
Right.
that's a great solution for any homeowner because metal roofs obviously are gaining in popularity. They have great longevity. And mounting
Yeah.
a standard solar panel system on a metal roof, there's plenty of great options on the market for doing that.
Yeah. Um, and one other question before we shift gears into the next part here is the uh, structural support. So, I know typically depending on the jurisdiction, you might need to have a structural review, either very formal or certainly like, hey, I'm going to pop my head in the attic, informal. right? And for traditional solar, in the event of solar shingles, is this really then just it's a roof product, really? So do you still need that level of structural review?
No, you do not. So with
Yeah.
traditional solar, you're dealing with, panels that have weight and a
Yeah.
mounting system that has weight. And really, most jurisdictions have actually moved, like pretty much across the country, to allowing people to mount traditional solar to the deck. So they don't have to go into a rafter. They can just go straight into the plywood decking with with like four number 14 wood screws.
Yeah.
With solar shingles, because they're composite material as far as the frame, they don't have the weight of a traditional solar panel, and they're integrated into the roof. And so those calculations are all certified, so you don't have the same structural concerns as with a traditional solar panel system.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's transition into obviously CertainTeed's specific solutions for solar shingles and what people can do. There's some really good questions in there that we're going to come back to. I think some of them will be answered in your further slides here. So why don't I hand it back to you and then we'll dive back into Q&A in a little bit.
Sounds good. So, and you mentioned the solar shingles, but we also offer standard solar panels, as well as the building integrated roof products. And across our product lines, whether it be panels, or integrated roofing products, the warranty covers everything. So we cover the roofing, the racking, the solar panels, or the roofing and the integrated solar panels. And one of the benefits with CertainTeed's line of products is we're not some new solar panel manufacturer that hasn't been around for a while and might go out of business. CertainTeed's a 120-year-old company in the United States, and our parent company, Saint-Gobain, is an over 360-year-old company that's been around longer than the United States has been around. So our warranty, I mean, part of my job is literally, approving a bunch of warranty claims when things come up. We stand behind it, and you're going with something that you know that if any issues happen with your roof or your solar system, it's going to be taken care of. When we look at standard homes, going with a solar roof makes sense because of the fact that you're also saving money on your roofing materials. So, with the Solstice shingle system, for example, you're not having to put asphalt shingles underneath where the solar is. So you're saving money on all of those shingles when you do it. And it makes it so over the life of a system, you're able to save tens, 20, $30,000 on your electricity bill with it just being part of your roof. For the contractors on the call, et cetera, or even, for the homeowners, we have a full team. We call it our construction success team that actually supports every step of the design, installation, and will help you get going. So there's no need to figure it out yourself or just rely on install manuals. And that way we can provide you with all the calculations and the bill of materials. We have a person on site for the installation for your initial install to make sure that we're supporting you, making sure everything's done correctly. So really a white glove service for anyone interested in installing the integrated roofing shingles. Here's what I mentioned earlier, which is kind of the good, better, best options with regards to how you want to go solar on your roof. So you've got your traditional panels. The value that our product provides is the best warranty in the world as far as warranting the panels, the racking, the electronics, and the shingles. But then you've got, if you want a sleeker look, the partially integrated Solstice shingle system, which makes it so you can save on a bunch of your roofing costs with regards to the asphalt shingles, and you have an integrated roofing system that has both asphalt shingles and solar shingles. And then if you really want to get fancy, we've got our sun style system, which is full solar roof, solar integrated tiles, has a really neat dragon scale roof, and actually is installed on all of Google's buildings in their campus from the architect's perspective, just because it provides a really neat look to a roof while generating your own electricity. Um, this just lays out the different specs on each of the systems. So I'm going to pause here that with regards to like fire ratings and stuff, the integrated solar roof products give you a class A fire rating, whereas standard solar panels have a class 3. You have different hail impact ratings, so they actually test these with taking a baseball sized uh, block of ice and shooting it out of a cannon to test the panels. And the Solstice shingles have a class 3 impact rating, and Sunstyle has a class 4 impact rating. Um, Wind rating wise, you don't have to worry about that because with regards to any of these products, they can handle hurricane force winds. I've actually seen, this is with standard solar panels actually, photos from post hurricanes where an entire roof is blown off, but the solar panel section is still there and the solar panels are still intact. Um, and the same goes with regards to the integrated solar products. A lot of this is because standard asphalt shingles are nailed in, and the fact that these are screwed in and have professionally engineered loads associated with them, they can hold up to those higher wind ratings. So when we look at our standard solar panels, right now we've got 450 watt product for residential. There's also a 580 watt product that we have for commercial buildings. Commercial installs typically use larger panels because they're on flat roofs, no one's seeing them, and they use ballasted systems. But we have a full quality controlled production process where we test every single panel that we manufacture. Um, and hey, we haven't missed anything since we've integrated that quality process. But if for some reason something goes wrong, as I mentioned before, having the entire roof, the panels, the racking, the electronics, the shingles, all of that under one warranty from a company that's been around for so long brings value to any homeowner and peace of mind. This shows all of the products covered under our standard solar panel warranty. So it also includes flashings that are necessary for waterproofing on the roof. But as I mentioned, the PV modules, shingles, your electronics such as your inverters, and even your microelectronics that are on the roof, if you use optimizers or microinverters, are covered by us, as well as the entire mounting system. So let's move into the Solstice shingle and some of the BIPV products because I think most people are familiar with how normal solar panels work. Um, but this is the Solstice shingle. So it's a fully integrated roofing system, can be installed with any asphalt shingle roof, and looks way sleeker from a design perspective than a traditional solar system. So the way this product was designed is essentially everything slides in and then screws in on the top. So it could actually easily be installed by a traditional roofer. The only difference is it does not nail in, so they just have to have an impact driver or a drill to make sure they're putting the 5 screws across the top of each shingle. It has simple MC4 connectors that plug each shingle together, and all you have to do is wire it as you would any series-based electrical system, plugging each shingle together in a snake layout as far as wiring, and then you have your electrician run those wires into the attic and do the inverter installation. Um, and it's high velocity hurricane zone approved in Miami-Dade with that whole warranty and everything. So just bringing up a couple frequently asked questions to touch base on. I just mentioned shingles slide into place, they screw down, standard power tools. We provide the correct screws, all of that, and the wing clips to hold everything down. One question that we frequently hear is, oh, how efficient are the solar panels? And the truth is, they're 20 to 21% efficient, and that's the case for all solar panels. But that efficiency, that percentage, is already accounted for when you hear the wattage of the actual panel. So each Solstice shingle is 70 watts. That's the amount of power that you're going to get from it. You're not going to get 20% of 70 watts. Um, so that when you hear about solar panel efficiency, it's talking about the amount of sunlight and how much electricity it could, like if we had a 100% efficient solar panel, that 70-watt panel would then just be 5 times that amount of wattage. And so it's the same technology as top solar panels in the industry as far as the cells and what it provides. If you're looking to get into installation of these solar panels or even on your own home and need to be connected with a local installer, as I mentioned, our construction success team, we have people that will actually be on site and handhold you through that first couple installs, etc.
Um, Andrew, if I may clarify what you just said,
Yeah,
are you, when you say first couple of installs, you're speaking to the contractor, right?
yeah,
Because obviously a homeowner is not doing a couple installs, so I just wanted to make sure that, yeah.
yeah. Well, the you said the audience was going to be a mix, so
Yeah, I
I,
just wanted to make
yeah,
sure when
yeah.
you were because yeah, you were saying not that every homeowner gets a special representative from your organization, but the contractors do in the first few projects. Is that correct?
Well, and the homeowners actually do.
Yeah,
We work directly with homeowners and we'll connect them with a local contractor
sure.
and handhold that process.
Okay.
If the homeowner is in an area where there's a seasoned contractor, we will
Right.
just hand the homeowner off to them. But if they're
Right.
in an area with a contractor that is still, this might be their first install, we'll be with the homeowner and the contractor every step of the way. So.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
I
so
just
it
wanted to
does, it applies to
clarify.
both to a certain degree.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Just wanted to show from a visual perspective some project highlights showing how Solstice shingle looks on different roofs. One of the big benefits of Solstice shingle is it can actually deal with complex roof shapes, so step ins and step outs. So you can see in these bottom photos some step ins as the roof gets smaller going up. Um, And then here you can see uh, some additional complex shapes. One of the ones that was really interesting, you can see this project in the lower left, uh, where they actually wanted a cross in their roof, and Solstice Shingle was able to do that on that roof plane. So custom designs are an option. Obviously, it has to fit something that is a bunch of rectangles, but we've done a lot of custom designs that are pretty cool from an architecture standpoint, like the cross you see in the bottom left. Here shows both step ins and step outs during the construction process, which is great if you have homes with a complexity of roof shapes. Couple more photos showing installs on the coastline. And just gives you an idea that if you're designing a home or re-roofing a home, that there's a lot of flexibility. One of the benefits of a Solstice shingle system compared to a standard panel system is given that the shingles are smaller than standard panels, you can squeeze more in on certain roofs. So where you might not have been able to fit an additional 450-watt panel, with this you can fit a few additional 70-watt shingles and therefore generate more electricity for your home needs. And uh, here's the sun style system. So showing some homes and some commercial buildings that integrate sun style. It's a full solar roof. There are some inactive tiles, especially when you have to have pipe fence or whatever. You're not exactly going to have that go through a solar tile. But for the most part, the tiles are all solar generating tiles, same warranty, same everything. It's a Swiss engineered system that is a little bit more complex than your traditional solar install or integrated solar roof, but that dragon scale look of it is something really unique. And so when as a homeowner you're looking to impress your neighbors, or as a contractor you've got homeowners looking to show off, it's a great system to differentiate from your traditional American shingle or tile roof. Um, this shows what I was mentioning as far as like skylights and stuff like that, how you have some inactive shingles that you can literally use a buzz saw and cut on site. And then for the edge pieces, it's pre-cut inactive shingles. And you can also do it where you're only having the south side roof have the active tiles, so that you can just have inactive tiles on the north side roof where you're not getting as much sun. And the system has a Class A fire rating. It's got Class 3 hail impact resistance, and it utilizes a batten system underneath the roof. So that allows it to have active venting when you need a cool roof. So it's a pretty neat system. It is more expensive than standard Solstice shingles or solar panels, but definitely something that we've seen a lot of homeowners want to adopt and is a great option. And here's some project highlights showing some homes in the United States where they've integrated these sun style active tiles and have full solar roofs.
Yeah, Andrew, I'm looking at like this one here on the left and on your previous slide, the one on the right, and
Yep.
thinking of a question that of course everyone's asking and I'm asking, and it's like, what does it take to get the whole roof covered like that with all options? I mean, just first of all, people who want to generate maximum power, but then from an aesthetic standpoint, I think for here, this looks pretty good. On the other system, I think you do really notice the sort of deviation, right? And so I know sometimes, if you're in a HOA, they would require that, right? Because they don't want to see that broken up, unless you're in a state like mine, Michigan, where we thankfully sort of passed a law to stop them from doing that, right? But even still,
Mhm.
I think just from an aesthetic standpoint, it's a lot nicer. And I've heard like fire codes require some of those distances, like on the left there, away from the side, but you can see you're sort of getting away with it on the right. So how is it that we can, get everything, no matter which shingle type, all the way around?
So with regards to roof shapes, the thing is, and we're actually moving to doing glass inactive tiles on these.
Mhm.
So like those edges will look more similar.
Mhm.
I mean, if you look at the photo on the right, you can't really tell the difference, right? Because and
Oh,
from
so
the
it isn't. Oh, okay, I see it now. Okay. So it
yeah,
fooled me. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that's the whole thing from the ground,
Yeah.
and in an EAHJ looking up at the roof, you're not going to see the difference.
Yeah.
That's one of the things with the drone imagery being up top that you
Mm.
can, because of the angle, you can kind of see it. But
Yeah.
for a homeowner or an EAHJ, you're not really going to see that difference, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Here, like for example, here you can't see the difference. Uh,
Right. Okay. So yeah, so it fooled me. So great.
yeah, exactly. Um, and then one of the other things that we offer is drone photography if people are looking to show off their system, and we also do it for site surveys. So we have a network throughout the country of drone surveyors that can come out and help to make sure your install is exactly how you want it to be. Um, Also, if you're an architect or home builder and you're looking to like promote, this can help with that. So as you've seen, we've got a lot of drone photos in here, and that's actually a service that Certainteed offers that you can use and to promote your business or promote your home or whatever your installation is. With regards to that construction success team and process, we uh, we do a lot. So we will help with checking out the electricity bills, reviewing the scope, understanding that will help you source subcontractors. Let's say you're a roofer or you have a roofer and you need an electrician, or let's say you're an electrician and you need a roofer. We can help with all of that. We'll put together the entire design and help with the permit and interconnection. So we even have some remote services to actually process the permit and also process interconnection when connecting with the utility. Um, and we'll help with scheduling the installation, making sure that all of the bill of materials arrives as needed, and confirming it, making sure we schedule to have a person on site to help with the install. We'll help with registering the warranty for the system, um, and even with the inspections. And then we hand it over to the contractor or homeowner at the right stage based on competency. So with that, Brett, I wanted to make sure to get through with a little bit of time. We can um, open it up to questions.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Andrew. And like I said to everyone, if you were here for the first half an hour and you're getting your Con Ed, you're approved, you're dismissed, good to go. But if you are willing to stick around for the rest of the session, and we're going to go through and answer some questions for a while here, please stay on. Please keep asking more questions, jumping into the conversation, and adding your opinions in the chat and comments, both now live and on the recording. We'd love to hear from you as well. So, yeah, Andrew, one of the questions that I'm seeing here was about it says, what is the lead arrangement on the solar shingles? I think example, do the shingle have their own or are they gang? So I don't really understand that question, but does that make sense to you?
Um, leader. So I don't know if this is an installation question.
Yeah.
The way they install is there is essentially a starter strip that gets laid down at the
Hmm.
bottom of the array, and then the first shingles slide into that and then get
Yeah.
screwed down on the top edge. And then there's wing clips that get put when you're screwing them down that the next row of shingles get inserted into. And then around the sides, we have custom injection molded flashings that integrate with the solar shingles, and then the asphalt shingles go over those flashings to provide the waterproofing. If
Hmm.
that's what was being asked, that
Yeah. Yeah. If someone, if you want to, whoever, if anyone has more questions on the installation, if Andrew can clarify, we'll try to get to those. So the next question came up, and maybe we'll answer it in a broader way. So maybe you could just remind people where they can either find these certainties pros, right, that are trained, or if they want to become an installer, where they can do that. And then the specific question here is, do you work in Canada? But maybe you can just speak to its international availability a little bit.
yeah. So the Certainteed website contact us form will get you put in touch with inside salesperson that can, if you're a homeowner, can connect you with a contractor. We have a Find a Pro website that has
Hmm.
all of our certified network. We also, for the contractors that want to be certified, have a certification program that's it's just a very simple e-learning platform um, that they can work with our team and enroll with to become a certified contractor and do it that way. And then international availability, as far as our network, US, Canada, Mexico, all approved. We have all of our like Canadian UL listings, all of that. So we're good to go with North America as far as these products. We have not gone into Europe or Asia or anything like that yet.
Okay. And if, for what is there required training for professionals who want to offer that? Is it pretty intense? Is there certification? Is there, you know,
So to, to be clear, the training isn't required to purchase the product and then install it with any of these product lines.
okay.
It's required for the warranty.
Right. What in those situations, right?
So
Yeah. Yeah.
we
Yeah.
have a credential program for certifying installers
Yeah.
so that the warranty is active for their installations, and it's really a couple e-learning modules
Mm.
and filling out a couple forms. It's not that intensive at all. Just want
Okay.
to make sure they pass a couple online quizzes and know how
Yeah.
to do it. And then, as I mentioned, we also will typically, if it's someone's first installation, if they're a contractor, send someone out to guide them through
Right.
to install in person.
Yeah. Do the on-site kind of quality
Yeah.
assurance for us. So, um, so that kind of going back to that other question, he was following up and saying, yeah, I meant how many penetrations through the deck for wires or leads?
One per array.
Okay.
So you usually have one penetration where at
Yeah.
the end of your string, you are putting it into the attic.
Yeah.
Some of the houses that I showed that have multiple arrays are going to have a penetration under each of them. So it's typically at one of the top corners of the system.
Okay. Um, Now you mentioned leasing earlier on, and I didn't know if you were speaking in general, but are we at a point where, people can lease their entire roof, their shingles, their solar out now? Is that happening?
No, the leasing typically applies to traditional
Yeah.
panels. Yeah, not I haven't seen where you can do the rest of the roof as part of it. We do
Right.
have some leasing companies where you can lease the Solstice shingles
Yeah.
themselves, but I would recommend that option more so for the panels because it gets a little complicated when you're doing the integrated roofing products.
Yeah. And can you remind us again, I forget if you mentioned this, just the optimal slope, and I know that changes depending on climate a bit, but does the optimal slope change versus traditional PV?
So no, well. Traditional PV, if you do a tilt system or a ballast system on a flat roof, you can do. But
Right.
asphalt shingles by construction code can only be installed at 9.5 degrees or higher. And so that same thing applies to the integrated ones.
Okay, so you really get limited on your low slope ability. You still have to do
Yep.
a higher pitch based on the
With
code.
yeah, with sun style you can do the low slope, but
Oh, okay.
Solstice shingle is limited to, I mean, 9.5 degrees is not that high of a pitch, but
Yeah. Yeah.
construction code for asphalt shingles requires 9.5 degrees or higher.
Right, right. Yeah. So I was, bringing up again and kind of getting fooled by the sun style about, the filling up the roof. Um, but to be clear, the reason you can't just fill up a roof is the fire code. Is that typically what you run into is the reasoning, or is there anything else for that with all
Are
filling
you
it up with all solar?
are you speaking to the panels and the Solstice shingle?
Well, like, yeah, just shingling, and I know for panels that's the reason, but I just didn't know for shingles if there's any workarounds being worked on where you can just, you know,
I
ideally someone doesn't want to buy any asphalt shingles, they just want to buy all solar, right?
Yeah, it's a combination of, yes, there are codes with regards to fire that require setbacks so that
Mm. Yeah,
a firefighter can walk around the array. The additional thing is because roof shapes vary,
right.
um, the shingles are a set size, so you need something that you can cut to a specific,
Right, if you've got
really,
different,
yeah,
yeah, and I guess I was more talking about just those standard, like, hey, we're just gonna do nothing, right? Nothing's
yeah.
happening, it's just one pitch, Um, but in those cases, I suppose then you're limited by the fire code, right?
Yeah, and I'll even mention that some of the other solar roofing products out there where, I don't think I should mention them by name on this webinar, but they all have inactive like it might be a metal tile or something that you're cutting to
Mhm.
size just because around the edges you have different shapes and obviously it doesn't make sense to make and manufacture all these different custom sizes of tiles
Yeah.
or shingles.
Yeah. Um, People are wondering if on the Certainteed website, if you've got more detailed kind of cross section out of the three different products that just gets into all the ways they compare, I guess you could say, all the different features. Is that something that's available that someone can see?
Yeah, we have a actual like comparison brochure that can be downloaded that shows all three different products, and then each of the products has their own web page.
Okay.
I don't believe in Marcy. I don't know if you're there. I don't think we have like a straight comparison chart on the website.
Uh,
There we I don't know if you guys can hear me. We have the roofing selection guide that has all
Okay.
of the three products right there. And then as you mentioned on
mhm.
the website, there's the three different product pages where we have everything all out there for them for more information.
Thanks.
Yep.
Um, how compared to traditional PV, how do these solar shingles are they affected by heat? You know, I know traditional PV lose efficiency, and where how does that play into the SRI of the the asphalt shingles you choose that are surrounding it?
What's SRI stand for?
The reflectivity of it, it's an industry reflectivity
Gotcha.
standard for roofing. Uh,
So I can't answer that one, but feel free to reach out via our website. But as far as the heat, there's no concerns. We've got longevity testing, and we've been manufacturing and installing solar shingles for over a decade with no issues with regards to the heat. So
So you're
it's
saying it's comparable then to
yeah,
PV efficiency
yep,
loss from the heat? Yeah, it's not
yeah,
more, it's not less.
yep, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
There's
Um,
there's built-in venting for that purpose to make sure. Yeah.
yeah. And I saw a question in here. It says 70 watt and 450 watt for the same square footages. It may have been a response to one of your questions, but or one of your
No, so
statements.
the solar panels, the Solstice panel,
Yeah.
which are much larger, those are 450 watt, and then the Solstice shingles are 70 watts per shingle.
Yeah.
So
Do
different square footages for sure.
yeah. Do these solstice um work with the shingles, do they work with you had mentioned metal, do they work with composite, and do they work with other brands, or is there some kind of financial benefit to maintain the brand with Certainteed Roofing, or how does that work?
So the big benefit with maintaining the brand is the warranty benefit
Oh,
because
okay.
then the whole roof's under one company.
Sure.
And with regards to the composites, we've had people do installs with them with synthetic slate, synthetic tile, different things.
Hmm.
The big difference is still the warranty thing where when you do that, we're only warranting our product,
Hmm.
so we're not warranting the synthetic slate. So
Sure.
you just have to know that, and also the same goes with like the permitting aspect. You're permitting the synthetic slate roof, and then you're just permitting the solstice shingle section of the roof. And so it's just a little more complicated.
Right.
Um, but it does work with some other roofing products, and it also works with other manufacturers' asphalt shingles. We're just not going to warranty another roofing company's product for them.
Right. Um, what about rapid shutdown? How are you dealing with that?
Right now with Solstice Shingle, we utilize a midnight solar rapid shutdown in the attic and have a box for it. With SunStyle, it's actually compatible because it's got a batten system underneath with your Enphase and Solar Edge as far as like optimizers, microinverters,
Yeah.
AP Smart, like all your standard solar rapid shutdowns on the market work with SunStyle. And same goes for the standard panels, obviously. But with
Yeah.
Solstice Shingle, we've got multiple inverters we work with. We actually even just added as a rapid shutdown option the Tesla Powerwall with their mid-circuit interrupter that fits under the shingles. Um, so there's a few options, but yeah, that's how we handle rapid shutdown.
Yeah. And that kind of gets into answering another question here. I'd imagine people who already have traditional PV on one portion of their roof, and then they want to add more PV, and maybe they need to do a re-roofing project, right? And want to add more PV. Um, you know, I understand from others I've spoken to, the challenge is the inverter to do that, where you have a hybrid system. Can you just talk to me a little bit about the challenges or opportunities with having a hybrid system?
Yeah, you might have to add an additional inverter, or it might be different equipment, and
Oh,
it's really at the ground level electrical that you potentially have multiple different boxes on your wall that you're tying all together with
yeah,
the electricity.
yeah,
Um, I'd say if they have a traditional PV system and they're going to add Solstice shingle, one of the difficulties might be that their existing inverter system might be like a Solar Edge or Enphase and is not compatible with what they might need to use. Even though we've got five different inverter options for Solstice shingle, they are not those two ones, which
yeah,
for a while in the solar industry had like a lion's share of the market. So there might be some difficulty tying one of those brands and their electrical into an SMA or a Solarc or Growatt or whatever they have to use for Solstice shingle.
yeah. And then how would that further down the line play into storage, a battery? And so the question is kind of, if they had a battery and they're adding, they have traditional solar and then they're adding, is there like hey, only one system can really communicate with the battery and the other can't? And then to extend that question, just if someone's just going all, you know, with certainty products, is there any difference between integration with batteries?
Um, Integration with batteries is the same as a standard solar system. So
Yeah.
if you think about it, as far as and we've done testing and compatibility, but once the electricity from the solar hits the inverter, the battery's on the other side of that.
Hmm.
So it's the same as any standard solar system.
Yeah.
It doesn't really change with what's going on the roof, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I guess then if you're having to get multiple inverters because you're doing a hybrid system, do you know then only one of those inverters can really communicate with the battery, or do you know if both can, or have you dealt with
Yeah,
that?
it would typically you'd have, I mean, man, testing my electrical knowledge here,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, you would typically have that battery associated with only one of those inverters, not with both.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever seen a hybrid system where you've got multiple different brands of inverters going to one battery. I don't think that's possible, but I might.
Yeah, yeah, I didn't think so. I just thought you never know what engineering issue has been solved, tomorrow, right? So I think always ask the question. So
Well, I can tell you my house was a beta test site
yeah.
for the Ford Lightning's bidirectional
Yeah.
charging.
Yeah.
And so I've got a solar edge inverter for my solar system. I've got a Delta inverter for the truck,
Yeah.
and then I've got solar edge home batteries. And the way I had to do it, I've got a workshop was essentially the truck is the backup if I plugged it in for the workshop, and the
Yeah.
solar edge batteries are the backup for my house
Okay.
because I figured if I needed to leave for the day,
Yeah.
I still wanted the battery backup for the wife and kids. And if I needed to work in my shop, then I could
Yeah.
plug the truck in to power the shop. So it did have to be separate, and
Yeah.
I've got a whole wall of electronics that's a little complex. So
Yeah. Well, it sounds like, and I'll speak for our education board chair, Debbie, who's on here. You should probably be on the solar tour, the ACES solar tour. Maybe we should do separate interview with you on all that because that sounds pretty interesting. So if you're interested.
Sounds great.
Yeah, yeah, we'll reach out next time. But so gonna going specifically about sun style, they were asking about ridge venting on that.
Hmm.
Is that
Um,
normal install on that or
yeah, so because the system involves battens, it's already got airflow and we've got a ridge cap for the system and all of that. So
okay.
all good to go. And then, pipe vents, you would use an inactive tile. It's a composite material called Alucobond, and you would
Yeah.
cut your hole and flash it appropriately,
Yeah.
as I showed in a couple of those photos that had some vent pipes and stuff.
Yeah. And then on sun style, someone was just wondering if there's concern about it giving off a glare.
I mean, all solar panels and sun style, solstice shingle, solstice panels that have a anti-reflective coating.
Sure.
I'll say that with regards to sun style, um, there might be some glare. There's also we have like for example, I'll show with sun style there are some options. I don't have an up close photo in this slide deck, but the Google Plex that you see at the top here actually has a different coating compared to the normal because they wanted it to be gray.
Okay.
So there's also some options with regards to sun style as far as the texture and look.
Sure, sure, sure. So a lot of questions here about faulty or damaged panels and the challenges for replacement on those.
So with regards to solstice panels and sun
Well,
style,
well, and I guess it's more to the question to the shingles.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
That's why I was just going to say, with regards to those, they're removable. And
right. Yeah.
uh, with the shingles, that is one of the limitations of the current generation product, that you would have to remove the shingles above it in order to get to that one. We'll be coming out with a new generation towards the end of 2026. That one of the key things that's changing is removing individual shingles and being able to pop those out. But that is a limitation of the current Solstice shingle system.
Okay. But I'd assume if it's warranted, it would cover the
We're
additional
covering it,
ones
yeah,
that are replacing
because
it.
we
Yeah.
also
Okay.
cover labor as part of our warranty. So
Right.
if that happens, you don't even the fact that someone has to do all that work, whether it's you or contractor or whatever, we're
Mm,
going to be paying for it. So it's not so much of a
mm,
concern.
well. Um, let's see here. Trying to see if there's any new question. So yeah, so the question is, I found the shingle sizes online in your info, and it seems the output is around 13 to 16 watts per square foot. Does that sound right? Also for comparison, a 450 PV panel is at 3.5 feet by 6 feet at 21 square feet would be about 21 watts per square foot. They're just kind of mentioning some numbers, but it's I guess comparing the outputs of the two different types of panels or the types of panel systems.
Gotcha. What I would say is not being incorporated into that with the standard panels is the gaps between panels.
Sure.
Um, due to the way the racking's mounted and everything. So it
Hmm.
actually gets a lot closer, but yes, just due to the frame and the design of Solstice shingles, uh, it is slightly less as far as power density than a standard panel. But when you actually put up a standard panels array on a roof with the gaps, like I said, it gets a lot closer.
Um, and can you remind us again, did you say for these products they have to be able to access the attic or can they do outside wiring or both?
For solstice shingle, it has to be able to have space in the attic for the rapid shutdown
Okay,
and
that's right for the rapid shutdown, yeah.
and to be able to wire it. Yeah, there's not a conduit based option, but with regards to sun style, because of the batten system and the fact that you have space as well as standard panels, you have conduit options to not have to use attic space.
Mhm. Um, and then so, well, some people are just asking for some more information on the inverters and the monitoring systems. And I know you'd mentioned for Sunstyle, you mentioned some of the more traditional ones like Enphase. But can you just speak to that a little bit?
So for Solstice Shingle, the inverter options are GrowWatt,
Mhm.
SolArc, Tesla, and the Tesla Powerwall 3 battery as well,
Mhm.
and SMA.
Okay.
Yeah. And we're actually we just added EG4 as another option inverter option for Solstice Shingle.
Yeah.
So Solstice Shingle's pretty much only string inverters, whereas the other products you can have optimizers or microinverters.
So
But
Sunstyle has the microinverters?
yeah,
Okay.
Enphase. But one of the interesting technology things about like if you're a Solar Edge fan that likes the optimizer aspect is I'm not sure which the cell technology we use in Solstice Shingle, which is this
Mhm.
grid technology. If you
Mhm.
can see that there's all these tiny little wires and lines on each of
Mhm.
these Solstice shingles, it actually provides self-optimization. So you're already getting optimization through the fact that if a portion of this panel is shaded, there's still electricity going through everywhere else and flowing to that cell, etc.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
If you get that particular one, right, you're saying?
With Solstice Shingle, all Solstice
Oh,
shingles have that built-in grid flex technology.
okay. And is that for the monitoring, someone was saying, I know like with like Enphase you can get the panel by panel monitoring. Is that shingle by shingle monitoring or is it just whole system monitoring?
Whole system.
Okay. And then someone was asking, how do shingles deal with fire pathway requirements? I don't know if that's different than the fire rating or what.
They have the standard fire setbacks. That's kind of what you talked about how they don't go edge to edge
Yeah.
uh, earlier. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
part of the certification is there's still, on the bottom, top, left, and right
Okay.
setbacks for fire.
Yeah. Um, well, great. I don't see any other more specific questions right now. I'm just trying to make sure I caught everybody's question here. Um, but yeah, can you, I guess, yeah, so for as a, I guess, where can people go, just as a reminder, where can people go to learn more, find professionals, if they can contact you or someone over at Certainty to reach out? Where can they go to learn
Yeah,
more?
just I would say go to certainty.com/solar and you can see all the product lines and use the contact us form there, and one of our team members will be in touch with you. We've got an extensive uh, solar products team that is always on the line to handle things. We've got multiple account managers and construction success people that
Yeah.
can provide more information on whatever you need.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, Andrew, I really appreciate your time for coming out and for Certainty for taking time to do this. So thank you so much. And thank you all for joining us. We'll see you same time, same place next week. So take care. Goodbye.
Thanks, everyone.
Be sure to check out all of our courses available online that you can watch anytime and anywhere to pick up your CEUs. Before you go, make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube to get weekly updates and stay up to date on green building science courses, webinars, and home tours. Thanks again.